Thank you so much. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great day for the family as we have very special guests for the inaugural session, and we cannot miss the very special protocol of the land that says special guests should be welcomed with fresh flowers. May I request the host team to please present bouquets of fresh flowers to the Honorable Chief Guest and Guest of Honors, please. पुष्पगुच्छ सहित अतिथि माननकु आमंत्रित करिबा स्वागत करिबा ए माटीर परंपरा अनुरोध करिबी वॉलंटियर्स माननकु पुष्पगुच्छ नै आसबे मंचकु एवं होस्ट टीम को अनुरोध करिबी पुष्पगुच्छ सहित अतिथि माननकु स्वागत संबर्धित करिबा पई. We have traditional angavastra that will wrap the dignitaries in the warmth of Odisha art, culture and heritage, and bouquets of fresh flowers, believing that their fragrance will remind the dignitaries of this day and our love for them. Can we have a round of applause for our Honorable Chief Guest? Thank you so much, Dr. Sinha, for being present here. That means so much to the students, and everybody is looking forward to hear from you. Thank you, our guest of honors. Despite their extremely busy schedule, they are all here to attend and be an integral part of Argus Education Next Conclave Season 2. That means so much for Argus family. Why are we missing a round of applause here? It's not every day that we get to see such enlightened minds together on stage at the inaugural session of Argus Education Next. The second edition is getting bigger and brighter with the presence of these thought leaders who have decades of experience and expertise. Thank you, host team, for doing the honors. Taking a step forward, this is the second season of this conclave, which has already been a platform of enlightenment and insight since it started. So there is a very special audiovisual that will talk about the journey of this organization, why we are special and why the nation is talking about us. Can we have the AV, please?
Argus News. The leading and the fastest growing satellite news channel from Odisha has come to be known as a responsible and fearless leader in the world of news. It continues to win the hearts of Odias across the state and the world.
नमस्कार एक बड़ खुलासा सह अर्गस बिग ब्रेकिंग को आपनको स्वागत करछु.
कटक भुवनेश्वर सांस्कृतिक राजधानी रू राज्य राजधानी.
निर्भीक सांबादिकता आम संकल्प. आमे दौ साधारण जनतांक मौलिक समस्या को गुरुत्व.
तर्क वितर्क विश्लेषण. अर्गस न्यूज टीआरपी रो दौड़रे नुहे.
With a large Argus family of viewers, Argus stands for conviction, credibility and consistency. As the most technologically advanced news channel in Odisha, Argus is armed with state-of-the-art technology such as real-time 3D graphics, sports analysis and asset management tool. Through virtual reality, teleporting and augmented reality, Argus has opened unlimited possibilities and is creating a new experience. Argus has highly modern newsrooms and studios. The team at Argus is made up of over 200 professionals comprising journalists, reporters, technicians and others. Argus provides news from every corner of Odisha and the world. It has a host of popular programs that are the choice of households across Odisha. It also goes beyond television programming by initiating several conclaves on a wide range of subjects such as education, agriculture, tourism, health, women empowerment and more. It brings together domain experts, influencers, policymakers and industry leaders to discuss and plan the future. Argus is broadcast round the clock on all leading channels. It also has a strong presence in social media and engages a large audience. In the urban 15+ age group, the potential buyers from any family are well connected to Argus. It has a cumulative reach of 14.02% and has the second highest FCT consumption among Odia news channels. And now, Argus is celebrating its 2 years of fearless journalism. Argus News. The curtain has risen, the journey has begun.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a louder round of applause for the organization, Argus family? Because delivering the truth and nothing but the truth to 4.5 crore Odias had been the motto of this organization. The journey so far had not been easy, but we vow to continue our struggle for the quest of truth today and always. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll fail in my duties if I do not thank the sponsors, because it's their support that makes this endeavor so special. Our title sponsor, Shiksha O Anusandhan University, powered by Saurav Sathibahi O Test Paper, Manav Rachna University, NMDC Limited, associate sponsor, CV Raman Global University, Yashashvi Group, Dr. D.Y. Patil Unitech Society, Geeta Autonomous College, AIPH University, Paradip Port Authority, and Sai International School. Thank you so much, our generous partners, our sponsors for the cause. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, the second edition of Argus Education Next Conclave has a very special theme: bridging gaps and creating opportunities in the world of education. Having said that, let's start the day with one amazing quote by the greatest thinker of the century, Confucius, who said, "Education breeds confidence. Confidence breeds hope, and hope breeds peace." And we at Argus family want the younger minds to get the best of education, because that is exactly what the nation needs. Time for the formal welcome address, and may I request Mr. Sanjay Jaina, Chief Editor, Argus News, to do the honor, please. Shri Jaina.
Thank you. अर्गस न्यूज का एजुकेशन कॉन्क्लेव का सेकंड एडिशन में आप सबको मैं स्वागत करता हूं। वी हैव विथ अस आवर गेस्ट्स ऑन डायस, डॉक्टर परमार्थराज सिन्हा, डॉक्टर जनरल आर.के. आनंद, श्रीमती नताशा जोग, प्रोफेसर संदीप करमालकर। I welcome you all to this second education conclave. Sir, while inviting you, I will be putting few words on behalf of Odisha. I'm not very comfortable in English, but I wish to communicate like Dr. Paramath Sinha is here. Like when I started my career as journalist, almost 30 years back, when we talked to Ashoka Fellows, we are feeling great. Like they represented innovation in Odisha. They brought new things to Odisha. Sir, I welcome you to Odisha, the state. I can safely conclude what Odisha thinks today, the nation thinks tomorrow. Sir, in 1936, Odisha emerged as an independent state during our British days. What Odisha thought in 20s, like the struggle to make Odisha a state on language base, on linguistic basis, the struggle continued not less than 25 years. And in 1936, Odisha became first state in the country on language basis, on linguistic line. And after 47, the entire think tank of the nation thought language should be the base on which our administrative units need to be settled. When we are discussing education, where we are thinking to bridge the gap, where we are thinking our standard should go above national standard, we as Odias, we feel proud. We started, we have ideas, we have innovations, and what we thought at one point of time, that was followed by the entire nation. Dr. R.K. Anand sir, हमारा साथ है. Odisha might not be like number one in development parameter. Odisha might not be like in size. Yes, in Odisha we have our problems. Yes, our infant mortality rate is very concerning. Our rural infrastructure is a concern. Our farmers' income is a concern. But I can safely say the state schools produce manpower, the capability of ordinary families' children are intellectually very sound. Like that we have established at national level. Yes, we have set examples, but that we have to take it to our schools. That we have to make our education system so robust that will not be projecting few isolated cases, but Odisha's manpower in school to colleges can be like that efficient, that big, that performing. We can do much better at national level. Madam Natasha Jog is here. Madam, Odisha, I can safely conclude, is the state that started woman empowerment movement. I am talking of 14th century. There was a poet whose name is Balaram Das. He composed a poem called Lakshmi Puran. And today, all the households in Odisha, all the households, not even single household is left. That book is recited, where Mahaprabhu Sri Jagannath, the presiding deity of Odisha, begs apology to Ma Lakshmi, his wife, and says, I bow before you, I respect you, without you I am incomplete, and gives her absolute freedom to go wherever she likes to move. And Lakshmi gets right, she can go to a place where very so-called low-caste people live. Jagannath Mandir and Ma Lakshmi taught of absolute no barrier on the basis of caste, and gender cannot be a disadvantage. And Lord Jagannath, Mahaprabhu, has to accept this. And this is a household story in every house of Odisha. Not a single household is left in Odisha where Lakshmi Purana is not recited. We have with us Professor Sandeep Karmalkar. Sir is staying in Odisha, must be talking to Odia people, Odia boys and girls. We Odias take pride, we simply not a cultural community. We don't represent art and culture, we represent science and technology. Sir, Jagannath temple, the present one, is more than 800 years old. Odias then must have mastered chemical engineering. Despite salinity, the temple is strong. When the archaeology experts come, they say the structure is very strong. That means our structural engineers, our chemical engineers exhibited their competency. Yes, when the debate is going on, certificate versus competency, certificate is not very important. Competency that matters. When we are here to discuss education, to bridge the gap, when we are discussing on the backdrop of national new education policy, when we wish the young generation who are there in our schools, those who are there in our educational institutions, they must develop competency. Yes, certificate is part of it, but our competency should match, not at national level. We should be a global power. Odisha can be a global power. With this expectation, I welcome all our guests on the dais. There are many senior people. Two former vice chancellors are sitting, former IAS officers are sitting, many academics and students from big institutions are here. I welcome you all, and I hope with our guests this session will be very effective, and we'll go with a message. The role as a media, as Argus, to give confidence to Odia youth, to take pride in our culture, to understand we have a very strong history and strong background, and there is no reason why should we accept why we are in the bottom of development ladder of the country. We must go forward and let education be the launching pad. Thank you all. I welcome you all to this conclave. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Srijena. There couldn't be a more overwhelming welcome address. Thank you for reminding all of us how Odias have always been ahead of their time, and we at Argus family get our inspiration from this race and trying to be ahead of this time, setting trends. Thank you very much. It's very important to set the context and tell all of you why this conclave is so special for Argus family and what the objective is. And to do the honor, I'll request CEO Argus News, Shri Prakash Sahu, to please address the gathering.
Good morning, everybody. Esteemed guests on the dais, Dr. Sinha, Professor Kamalkar, Ms. Natasha, Dr. Anand, my colleague Sanjay, and resource persons for our upcoming sessions, academics, and education sector stakeholders, invited guests, and friends from media and student delegates. Friends, just now my colleague Sanjay Jana was so passionate. I know him for almost last 40 years. And he's always like that. And he's very passionate about the things, about our richness, about our state. As a student also I've seen him. So he always argued and the logic that we should take pride in our things which people don't know. I mean, we Odias normally a bit shy. I mean, lack confidence in ourselves and our strength and all. But that is the strength he has. We are just a 2-year-old organization, media house. But before that, this was a YouTube platform which my colleague Sanjay has started out 4 years before. And later on, after getting good response, good vibe from the followers and viewers, we thought that we should scale it up. And then it's just 2 years before we started make it a full-fledged satellite channel. We are youngest channel in the state, but as rightly said, we are the fastest growing channel in the state. We're known for our responsible and fearless journalism. For that, many of my colleagues in last 2-3 years has faced a lot of problems in the ground, but they're not scared. We are there with them. And thank you very much for all our viewers for their support to getting us good response, making us the fastest moving channel in the state. And we'll continue to do that. Thank you again for my viewers. As mentioned, I mean, we started this mission to always be there with the people issues, with the people and raising their issues. I mean, whatever possible format, whether it is satellite, digital and all, and we are continuing that. We always appeal our viewers to come forward, open up their mind. Argus will be always there to be their voice, to lend it to the right audience and the policy makers. And in just 2 years, we have taken our reporters from the ground. They've taken many initiatives. I mean, it's a very long list. You can see very proud feeling that the impact Argus is terrible. I mean, people have gone after 1 month, 2 months, things have changed in those districts. I mean, people have welcomed us like anything. So that gives us confidence. Besides covering regular news, I mean, being a news platform, to bring the pride feeling, to add value to people's life, to get in touch with the common man's issues. We've always done some special programs like we are here today. So whether it be it agriculture, be it health, be it education, be it women empowerment, last just 2 years we have done around 7 conclaves and programs, special programs. Got good response. I mean, only because of through these programs we're able to communicate what we are doing, sirs and ma'ams. We're getting you people to here to this place and take your views and experiences and disseminate audience. Otherwise, we just become a local media house. We want to empower the people of Odisha, meet their aspirations. So that's why these programs, and after having a last year on education, here we are in season 2, next edition. We all know that whether it is Gurukul days of India rich or the Takshila Nalanda rich history, what we have read from history and in our books, the education system has undergone a significant transformation over the years. And even though we have embraced technology to democratize education, dissolving borders and reaching minds even in the remotest corners, but still there are a lot of issues. Recently, just a month before, Dr. Sinha has brought out a book very relevant today. It is almost, I was just telling him, that book is what exactly we want everybody to read, and this is the purpose of this conclave also. He said that just don't study, you learn. There's his book. You all should go through that book. We are very proud that we have Dr. Sinha. Very short notice, he's here, he's agreed, and all our esteemed guests. And our upcoming sessions also. We are very, interesting and diversified people from different segments. They will be talking on our different aspects of education. And this is advent, introduction of this new education policy 2020. There are many things coming up, but there are a lot of confusion, chaos. Right? Dr. Sinha in his book has said that not just we as a common man, even students, parents, even education institutions, they are very confused how to do, disseminate things. It's so changing. One of my friends, his son joined engineering, sir, last week. They said he's attending college, he's there in the campus, but because of attendance shortage, they are not allowing him to attend the exams. He said, why are you not going? He said, I don't see the content and the teachers, professors, interesting, I know everything. Children are exposed to so much thing. Education is there on everybody's hand, mobile and all. So unless otherwise, even education institutions or academicians upgrade themselves, the old days of teaching process is gone. I'm sure all these people are here to share their views. I'm not an expert, I'm just a layman. I myself want to understand as an individual, as a media person or as a father, can we guide? The people are expecting a lot of things. And more so, being a media house, this is our primary responsibility to disseminate the right thing to our viewers through all these day-long sessions. The experts, they will be sharing things which I think we can add value to the people's, our viewers, things and I'm sure it will be enlightening and educative morning for all of us. And Argus will disseminate these contents in different formats to our viewers. So have a nice day-long session. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Shri Sahu, for setting the context right and talking about the objective Argus family has behind this conclave. Ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to importance of education, I would like to quote Kabir here, who says, "Pothi padi padi jag moya, pothi padi padi jag moya, pandit bhai na koi, dhai akshar prem ke padhe so pandit hoi." So it's not about what your teach your children, it's about how you teach it. There should be a soul to education, there should be a humanitarian approach to it. So in this conclave, we are just not talking about the technical side of education, we are also talking about the ethical side of it, the futuristic side of it, and that's exactly what makes this conclave so special. And when you talk about education, national education policy is something that you should know more about, and we have an expert who is the right person to throw some light on why this is a game-changing initiative. Shripad Kalmakar is a professor of electrical engineering and head of the Teaching Learning Center at IITM. He has received the prestigious 2006 Vikram Sarabhai Award for Research, 2007 IBM Faculty Award for Research and Teaching.
ओएसएससी प्रश्नपत्र लीक घटना रे गिरफ संख्या 25 छुई हेले किंगपिन किए ताकू नै लागि रहिछि सस्पेंस आसाईक अभियोग ओएसएससी ऑफिस रे ही लुचि रहिछंती किंगपिन
एटिरे ओएसएससी चेयरमैन पार्टी खोलु नांती जो ओएसएससी चेयरमैन सेंटर सेंटर बुली कि आम सहित फोटो उठाउतिले
सेहिति पई सीबीआई तदंत दाबी करुछंती सबु आसाई नीलाम हेउछि मेधार मूल्य नाही
एतकी टंका दियो चाकरी ने लोक चाकरी करी कहउछन हम चाकरी पैसा दी चाकरी करछ हमके बार करियो ओडिसा रे स्थिति तयारी हेछि जे सरकारी चाकरी बिक्री होछि
देखंतु महापंचायत चाकरी परीक्षा भविष्यत सह खेल रविवार राति 8 रे
छोट परतारे तांको बहुत भल पाइबा मिलिछि खाली सेतिक नहे बड़ परतारे भी तांकर बेस
I am not able to see the slide myself, so I am just getting it on my laptop. So dignitaries on the dais and members of the audience, I am very happy to participate in this particular panel discussion. I thank Argus Media House. You call it Argus or Argus? Argus, yeah. Argus Media House for inviting me. It allows me to get in touch with people of Odisha, where I have been only for the last 8 months. Mr. Sanjay Jana gave a very nice introduction of Odisha, different aspects. And he also organized it so well, depending on the background of the guests on the dais, he mentioned several points. I really liked it. I also thank Prakash Sahu for giving a very enlightening introduction. Now let me come quickly to my point, my topic, and that is NEP 2020 in higher education, game changer initiatives. So what I will do is I have exactly 15 minutes time. What I will do is I will highlight a few unique features of NEP and I will talk about how they are being implemented at IIT Bhubaneswar. The idea is not only to mention what is happening in IIT Bhubaneswar, but also how people can implement these ideas, right? Because ultimately the implementation is very important. A policy may be very good, but unless it is implemented, it is not effective. So the goal of NEP 2020 or its vision is to transform India into a vibrant knowledge society and Vishwaguru. That is its vision. Now, it has suggested several means
to achieve this particular vision. I am listing here a few about which I will talk about the implementation. These few are flexible multidisciplinary education suited to 21st century needs, continuous teacher training and professional development, promotion of critical thinking rather than rote learning, and encouragement of scientific temper, inter-institutional collaboration and e-learning, instilling Bharatiyata and Atmanirbharta, industry-academia collaboration. And there are several more, but as I said, I will focus on those whose implementation I can give examples. Let's look at multidisciplinary education suited to 21st century needs. This is a unique feature of this particular education policy. Every education policy that India has had has some notable features. This multidisciplinary aspect has been stressed a lot in this particular education policy. So now, how can we implement this? In Bhubaneswar here, we have AIIMS and we have an IIT. Now, how can these two get together and do something that is useful to the society? So here are the examples. So we are conducting a short-term course on artificial intelligence in medicine. We are also thinking of starting a MTech program later, next year. Artificial intelligence in medicine, medical technology, in which there will be 10 students of MBBS and 10 students of BTech. So this is how we can put together a multidisciplinary program. Similarly, we have initiated 47 projects in which the doctors of AIIMS and the faculty of IIT Bhubaneswar are together trying to address issues related to diagnosis, prevention and monitoring of diseases. Let me come to continuous teacher training and professional development. Now, this is something that is again another unique feature of the NEP 2020. While this was mentioned in earlier policies maybe 25 years ago, but it was not stressed to the extent it has been done in this policy. For example, this year, as a part of the policy, a unique program called Integrated Teacher Education Program, ITEP, has been launched. On 9th of August, an entrance test, All India entrance test happened to select teachers for this particular program. IIT Bhubaneswar happens to be one of the 2 IITs among the 42 institutions or universities which are going to launch this program in their place. And what are the unique features of this program? So it aims at producing outstanding school teachers grounded in Indian values. All of you would have probably come across this statement, which is very significant and very true. No nation can rise above the level of its teachers. And in the introduction, he mentioned that unless the teachers are inspiring, the students don't feel like going and attending the classes. They would rather like to, browse an internet, which is readily available. So it is very important to produce high-quality school teachers, because that is where the major foundation are laid. So this particular ITEP program tries to produce outstanding school teachers. In fact, this is the first time an IIT is going to have an education-related degree. So this is, for example, IIT Bhubaneswar is going to offer BSc B.Ed. BSc in physics, chemistry or mathematics, and integrated with B.Ed. This is a 4-year program. About 50 students are going to join in a month's time, and in this program, teachers are prepared for foundational, preparatory, middle and secondary stages of school education. So you know now, even Balavatika has been started. This is another unique feature of this policy, that it has recognized the research which has shown that the brain develops to 85% of its full potential within the first 10 years. So in fact, unless you do a significant intervention within that duration, You cannot aim at producing excellence or genius. So foundational stage takes care of that. And then you have preparatory, middle and secondary stages. Preparing school teachers is important. Preparing higher education teachers is also equally important. So in IIT Bhubaneswar, we have launched a program for developing faculty in pedagogical techniques. It is not about developing people in their subject expertise. This has been going on for long. What the educational policy now tells is, we must train teachers in pedagogy. And a lot of research has taken place in pedagogy, which has given clear guidelines how any teacher can teach a subject better. I will mention a few more things shortly. So in this program, the points that we cover are indicators of student learning and factors that affect this learning, the concept of teaching portfolio as evidence of teaching effectiveness, how to set questions at different levels of thinking, how to give feedback to learners, and how to take feedback from learners, right, to improve teaching and learning, how to make classes interactive, and what are the merits of oral and written exams. So all these aspects are covered in detail. Similarly, we can prepare for teaching even before students become faculty. During the research program, we would like to train our research scholars in assisting teachers well. So this is called Teaching Assistant Orientation Program, abbreviated as TAO. Now, let me give you an idea of what is meaning of good teaching. A teacher portfolio. What are the aspects to which a teacher should pay attention? Now, here is an example of a teacher portfolio, which starts off by giving the details of the course, what is the textbook and what is the content, and class composition. For example, you can see here what is the boys and girls percentage, and if it is a composite class which involves different disciplines, then that should be mentioned, because the impact a teacher makes depends not only on the teacher but also on the composition of the class. It is more difficult to teach a composite class than to teach a homogeneous class. Similarly, you must provide what is the format of assessment. Now, there are a wide range of assessments that teachers can adopt. Modern pedagogy says, for example, you can have a closed book exam, you can have an open book exam, you can have in between an exam with a cheat sheet where you allow the student to come with a sheet with formulae and so on. So there are a range of assessment procedures which the teachers are exposed to. Then attendance policy, overall student performance and grading, up to 5 critical thinking level questions from assignments and exams, together with marks, answering time and mode of exam. Now, national education policy says we must promote critical thinking. The point is, how do you promote it? This is where teachers must learn to set questions at critical thinking level. This is very important. So in the portfolio, we are asking teachers to specify what are the critical thinking level questions you have set and how did your students perform. Then, questioning is a very important ability. You want to do good research, you should be able to ask good questions. Now, it is unfortunate that our marking and grading does not take into account the quality of questions student asks. It only depends on how well they are able to answer questions which we have set. However, we must give due credit to people who ask good questions. So here the teacher has been asked to report at least up to 5 significant questions asked by students. From the type of questions students ask, you can figure out how much impact a teacher has made. Then activities and fraction of class time spent on activities. Research has shown lecture is not the best method of teaching. Lecture is not the best method. Activity-based learning is deeper. So teachers have to learn what are the different types of activities they can give to the students. So an ideal class, here are some models given here. Ideal class involves 10 to 15 minutes of speaking, followed by activity, again 10 to 15 minutes of speaking, followed by another activity and so on. It has been shown that such a class has better learning. Then you have student feedback where students report how well did the teacher teach. There are other things such as identifying and dealing with students needing special attention. peer and expert feedback on teaching, performance of students in a follow-on course. I like to talk about this. One measure of good teaching is how the student performs in later courses and real life. That is a better indicator than how the student has performed in your own course, because performance in your own course depends on what kind of question papers you set. But real life doesn't, you can't control the kind of problems real life will present. So, performance in real life is a better indicator of teaching effectiveness. Similarly, performance in follow-on courses. In fact, a very interesting study published by head of the Department of Mathematics from Stanford University showed that teachers who got somewhat lower rating from students were actually better when they were evaluated based on the performance of students in later courses. Therefore, whatever the student says in the feedback should not be taken as the sole measure of teaching effectiveness. Now, I'll try to close within a couple of minutes, mentioning some other points. How do you promote critical thinking, communication skills, and scientific temper? Now, research scholars are the ones who need these skills maximum. So, we are going to have a course which will give the students an experience of the following skills, namely reading skill, critical thinking skill, experimentation skill, communication and management skills. Reading is a very important skill that decides scholarship. Unfortunately, in our courses, students are never told why they should read, what they should read, how they should read. How can a person read hundreds of papers? Students pass their exams during BTech and MTech by just reading notes. Now, when they're put in PhD, suddenly they have to read hundreds of pages. Now, they find it very difficult. So, how can you do, what is the meaning of reading hundreds of pages? I'll tell you a very interesting anecdote from Vivekananda's life. Once Vivekananda went to a library and picked up a thick book. After a week, he returned the book. The librarian asked him, "Now, have you really read the book? It is so thick." He said, "Yeah, I have read it." The librarian said, "No, so many people have taken this book. They have kept it for a month. I don't believe you." And then he answered something that is very important for people who want to do research. He said, some people read word by word, some line by line, some paragraph by paragraph, some page by page, some chapter by chapter, and some book by book. So it is not as though when you say you read hundreds of pages, you are reading every word of that. This is the skill. How can I read? Line by line, paragraph by paragraph, identify where there is important information and just read that part. One can go on. I have a limitation on time. So these are all the aspects that we want to cover in a course for our research scholars. Interinstitutional collaboration and e-learning. We have launched a course along with IIT Guwahati using the online approach. Promotion of multilingualism and Indian languages. This is another important focus of national education policy. So we have stipulated that all project reports and theses, the abstracts, which are 1 to 2 page long, will be written apart from English in any other Indian language of choice of the student. This is how we want to promote Indian languages in higher education. Finally, industry-academia collaboration is also an important point in national education policy. Normally we know that in higher education institutions, if you want to join as a faculty, you should have a PhD. Now, there are many people who don't have a PhD, but they are very knowledgeable. These are the people who are manning, let us say, organizations like ISRO. Many of them are manning industries and so on. Now, how can we tap their knowledge? So, this is a position called Professor of Practice, wherein a person who doesn't have a PhD degree, but is very knowledgeable and very senior, can become a professor in an IIT and participate in teaching and guiding students. I think I have taken more time than 15 minutes. If I have exceeded time, I'm sorry for this. I thank once again Argus Media Channel for initiating a panel discussion on such an important policy like national education policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Karmalkar. IIT Bhubaneswar is blessed to have a jewel like you, and so are all of us at this conclave. Can we have a louder round of applause for Professor Karmalkar for those enlightening words? Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest technological wizard ever, Steve Jobs, once said, technology should aim at transforming lives. Having said that, AI, or artificial intelligence, is definitely the future. From enhancing your reasoning, your problem-solving capacities, your efficiency, AI is doing a lot for all of us. So can it be a game changer for our educational system? Can it redefine our educational system is a question we all have, and we have an expert who have all the answers. Ladies and gentlemen, Natasha Jog has experience spanning over a decade and a half in risk analysis, program and project management, and public speaking. In her present role at Facebook, she has successfully managed several high-risk projects, elections, emerging markets, crisis events, and
छोट परतारे तांको बहुत भल पाइबा मिलिछि खाली सेतिक नहे बड़ परतारे भी तांकर फेस आम सब संतर प्रिय अभिनेत्री उपासना
पानी रे बुड़ी बनाही की
आपण एमती कहले आपण सीरियल रे बहुत भल पाइबा मिलिछि किंतु फिल्म रे सेति की भल पाइबा मिलिलानी दर्शक देलेनी ना संध्या 7 हला माने टीवी ऑन करला माने मानिनी आपण को फ्रंट रे बसला आपण आगे कांदिला हसिला जेतो आपण घर बाहर को बाहरुचंती कोन एमिति गोटे जिंस अछि जा को आपण केबे घर छाडी के आसंते
देखंतु एथर स्टार्टअप शनिवार राति 8 टारे
भारी फुले से खेल रही नानी
what the future of work and what the future of jobs looks like, and that's where making big bets and doing a lot of work here along with our work on education as well. Now, AI has been a critical part of how we have approached our work at Meta for over a decade. AI, in fact, has powered, if you are all familiar with the Facebook newsfeed, AI powers that newsfeed, is what keeps that newsfeed going. And you've also heard with AI, we're also talking about the metaverse, which is really the next evolution of the internet as we see it. And it's the sense of presence, really, that sets the metaverse apart, right? It spans a range of technologies, including virtual reality, which are headsets that can transport you to entirely new environments, augmented reality glasses, and of course, mixed reality as well. These are experiences that blend physical and virtual environments. As we just heard the professor say, and I could agree more, for most of us, in fact, I want to take forward by saying, I think for all of us, learning is very social, right? We learn in social environments. We learn from not just our experiences, from other experiences. It's all about interaction and discussions as much as it is about books and papers and lessons and what have you. And academic studies have actually found that VR can positively improve knowledge retention, comprehension, student engagement, motivation, and even attention span. And I think that that's something that, at least for me, I understand intuitively. It is so much easier to remember doing something than being told how to do it, perhaps. And that's what makes the possibilities for learning in the metaverse just so exciting. Instead of telling students, and this is one of my favorite examples, having seen a small video, which I wish I had got here to play, but students who were told, instead of being told what the dinosaurs were like, they put in an environment where it felt like they were walking alongside them. So entire science laboratories can be built and filled with equipment that most schools would typically likely not be able to afford. Medical students can practice complex surgeries without risk to patients or themselves. And this is the kind of work that we are doing at our most recently. We signed a memorandum of understanding with an arm of the Ministry of Electronics and IT, which is India AI. And the idea of this is to establish a framework of cooperation on AI. A few weeks ago, and I wonder how many of you noticed this, but we also released our second large language model called Llama 2, which is available for commercial use in partnership with Microsoft. Again, the idea being that India's students, teachers, small businesses, entrepreneurs, researchers, and academics can use this financial model to build on it and, again, to unlock a whole host of new opportunities and really release India's potential. We have now released over 1,000 models and AI databases and research data sets on non-commercial licenses for researchers. Sir touched upon the new education policy, and it really is something that can be both a disruptor and revolutionary, and I think that that's the position and that's where we see AI as well. So I think it really is coming together. And we've really worked on this. And we've got partnerships with CBSE. We've got partnerships with AICTE. I'll take a few minutes to just talk you through them. Our CBSE partnership aims to empower over 10 million school students. And so very importantly, like you said, teachers, 1 million teachers as well, on AR and VR technologies. We've introduced digital citizenship and these AR, VR skills for children in grades 6 to 8 across 25,000 schools. To create a pipeline of future-ready developers on immersive technologies, we have this program called Creators of the Metaverse, which is a micro-internship and workplace experience program for students in colleges. This will target over 100,000 students and 20,000 educators to become MetaSpark developers. Our CBSE curriculum, if I could just go back to that for a minute because there's some interesting data that I've managed to get, which is 400,000 teachers and 1.8 million plus students, almost 2 million students have been introduced to cyber safety, cyber security, augmented reality, virtual reality, and the metaverse through the curricula. There is an opportunity to make sure nobody gets left behind in all of this, and there is access and opportunity should be available to all, which is why we have very consciously gone out and tried to democratize and make this technology inclusive as well. Over 200 Eklavya model residential schools, which are under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, are also those who are receiving digital citizenship and AR, VR training. I think at this point I'd like to wrap by saying that India's velocity of change really has been on the back of adoption of new technologies, and it's inspirational. We are already the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, and one that can use technologies like AI to further strengthen their digital governance and applications as well. When we release our large language models, we've seen a huge appetite in the country. Teachers, students, again, academics, businesses, researchers, etc., wanting to use these foundational models to build, learn, and of course, all of this also helps to create a stronger system, to create innovation and a thriving ecosystem, really, which is great for everyone to operate in. So that's, I'll wrap my speech, but for the moment, but thank you so much for listening, and thank you again for allowing us the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Natasha Jog, for those thoughtful insights that you shared with the House. Ladies and gentlemen, as Mr. Jaina and Mr. Sahu mentioned in their speeches, ours is a culture that has always focused on holistic education through Gurukul system, where the acharyas will not only focus on feeding the minds of the students, but also on the body and soul. And today, the educational experts are trying to redefine that Gurukul culture with holistic education. The question is, how can NEP, that is National Education Policy 2020, play an important role in it? And if that is a major question, we have an expert who will be giving you answers. Lieutenant General Dr. R.K. Anand is an eminent luminary and distinguished authority with a wealth of experience spanning over 4 decades in infrastructure development, human resource management, communication systems, data networks, and cybersecurity. currently serving as the Director General of Manav Rachana International Institute of Research and Studies. He holds a PhD, multiple MPhil degrees, and an MBA. Dr. Anand has made remarkable strides in the realms of operational research and logistics management. May I request you, sir, to please share your thoughts with the House.
Well, at the outset, thank you so much, Argus Education, for inviting me. Dr. Parmarth Rajsena, the honorable guest on the dais, the dignitaries on the dais, the invitees for the event today, students and those who are listening to Argus live in and around Odisha and the country. Very hearty welcome to each one of you for this discussion and the event today. Well, my job has become a little simpler by the two previous speakers speaking about NEP 2020, and the ma'am spoke about evolution of technology. Well, I would like to first touch upon some facts and figures for this House, and then briefly take you down for next 2 to 3 decades how the technology is going to evolve. And try and see, or I will in a quick time try and bring together that this evolution of technology which is going to take place in next 2 to 3 decades, what is the opportunity and the challenge for India, and how we are plugging this opportunity and challenge by NEP 2020. Well, some figures, most of us keep talking about it. I just want to touch upon some very important aspects of these figures. First and foremost is, there is a figure known as median age of a country. India is talked about as median age as 29 years. China as 39 years. We have Japan around 49 years or 50 years, and Europe a little higher than this. Now, for the information of all of us, it's the age of the median age of the nation where bulk of our population resides. So what does it mean? It means that bulk of India is much younger than China, Japan, Europe, and rest of the world. So how does it impact? It definitely impacts in one area, that bulk of India is in the learning stage now. So that means our younger population is the one which is giving us the opportunity to connect or fill up this gap which we are going to talk of. One more important thing which I want to touch upon is, the figure or the term which is generally used is Generation Z, which is commonly being referred as Gen Z these days. If you look at the ratio of Gen Z around the globe, India has the highest ratio of Gen Z today in the world. That means the generation which is actually driving the technology or the evolution across the globe, we have the highest percentage of that with us. Now, these are some of the figures which talk of opportunity which India has. Well, another thing which is very commonly talked of is that in the age bracket of 18 to 35, we have roughly about 600 million people residing in our country. Another very important figure which is going to impact the way we are going to utilize this human resource in times to come. Well, ma'am spoke about some technology, the evolution which is taking place. I would like to take you down and imagine 2 to 3 decades from now, what is going to be the scenario as far as technology is concerned? How the technology will drive this world. Now, another important thing which is going to happen is, the pace at which the evolution of technology is taking place, what we saw in last about 4 to 5 decades, is going to become phenomenal in next 2 to 3 decades. It will be so fast that we won't imagine after another decade plus, everything around us will change. And the first and foremost thing is, what is going to change is the connectivity. We carry a cell phone around. This is going to get totally transformed. We are going to wear connectivity. We are not going to carry connectivity. It will be a non-evasive connectivity which all of us will carry along. That means you would have some electrons floating around your body which will connect you with the rest of the world. Now, how does it impact the life? Well, it impacts the lives in every and each aspect. She spoke about Meta. If you look at the education sector in times to come, every child will have about 4 to 5 to 7 avatars, and these avatars will float around in the knowledge domain and pick up knowledge. As far as knowledge gaining is concerned, there are research which are already on. Soon we are going to have a breakthrough in that, where you will find that we are going to connect with the human logic, and this connectivity to human logic will come through the communication I carry with me. That means knowledge will be straight embedded into my logic. And efforts are on to convert knowledge into wisdom. This is what human brain does, what technology has not been able to do. So, in times to come, in next about decade plus to 2 decades, we'll have an interface of human brain with the knowledge which is residing in the rest of the world. We'll have an interface which will convert this through AI into wisdom. So how is it going to impact the human learning? Well, human learning will get totally transformed. We're going to download things, convert into wisdom, and very short time you will find that everybody will gain knowledge and try and understand how things are going around. So with this pace of gaining knowledge, obviously the way we interact and do things will also get changed. And this will then change the job market. This will then change the socio-economic culture around the globe. This will then change how human beings behave. So what I want to bring out is that technology is going to totally drive this revolution, which is going to be absolutely dynamic change happening in the socio-economic environment along the globe. And this drive which is going to take place will actually transform how human beings live, interact, and grow or evolve. Now, as the subject I've been given was to talk of how NEP is going to fill up this, that's why I gave some figures. Now, across the globe, what's going to happen? Across the globe, there is a need now to have the human race adapt or acquire this technology change or transformation taking place as fast as possible. Now, that is where the dividend of age or the young age which India has comes in. And that is where India has an advantage to train this workforce which we have to play a major role in this technology transformation or the life transformation which is going to take place across the globe. Now that is where the NEP 2020 is the one which is going to bring in a dramatic shift in the way the young generation is being trained and taught across our country. And as we see, as has been brought out, NEP 2020 actually has broken down a age-old, very structured teaching oblique training pedagogy which was going on. And it is now tried to reframe it in the most, I would say, adaptable way which suits the requirement of next 2 to 3 decades. And the requirement of next 2 to 3 decades is not the structured degrees like we did BCom, BA, BSc, BTech, MTech, MCA, BCA, BBA. But it's more to do with what's the demand which is coming from the industry, what's the demand which is coming from the environment, how can a young child pick up things of his interest, things which the industry want, frame around it, learn and go. It also enables the younger generation to adapt certain skill sets which are very, very important, which some of us in our generation picked up at much later in our age. So it enables a young man to actually pick up them at much younger age. It also enables individuals to pick up vocational skill sets, which some of our ancestors picked up while they were living around in villages. They had to interact with the environment. So they picked up these vocational skills, which went missing suddenly because we transformed to urban life, and suddenly these skill sets were gone. It also enables an individual to actually not disengage from his mother language or mother tongue, pick up another mother tongue or another language and try and learn. It actually says that as you grow with your mother, you have a mother tongue. That's the best way to train or teach a child. So it enables, the policy enables that let the child be taught in the language he understands the best. That's his mother language or that's his mother tongue. And from there on, bring him to a stage where he finds that he's gained enough to disengage with mother tongue and then adapt to a few more languages so that he's become globally available. So NEP 2020 in brief is actually now providing us a structure to pick up a child who's native of India, enable him in his own mother language, bring him to a global stage, and thereafter train him into the technology which is evolutionary, which takes him to what the global village wants. So if you ask me to sum up, I would say that NEP 2020 definitely act in very many ways in connecting the rural India with the global world. The gap was that rural India was getting left behind the technology evolution and the education which was taking place. So it enables the education to have inroads into rural India, bring that into the mainframe, take larger percentage of Indian population onto global arena. I will just finish by saying that there are certain more figures which we keep talking of, and there is a figure known as gross enrollment ratio, GER. Most of you must be reading it. This figure runs very low in India as far as schools is concerned, runs further low as far as higher education is concerned. You find just about, in some states it's about 60 to 70%, in some states it's less than 50% of the children actually finish schooling. And just about 30% of these who finish schooling actually go into higher education and finish it. The NEP 2020 attempts to bring this school education to almost 100% of GER and cross 50% as far as higher education is concerned. Now that can only happen when we have inroads into rural India, enable education in the language which is spoken best in the rural areas. That's how I brought out that point of mother tongue. Now there are a lot of schools which used to say earlier that learn international language, you will grow global. But there are various models available across the globe where you find that bulk of the education in those countries is going on in mother tongue. Only at much later stage, they try and become global. Next door neighbor, China, is a big example. France is another example. So you have these successful models which are available. So I finished by saying that, well, NEP enables us to transform bulk of India onto this education ecospace. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
अरे चगली 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 जिया सेता भारी अभिमानी नी टिके में छे से भारी फुले से गिले नानी एगारो मोड़ मोड़ी अमा गोरी नानी अमा गोरी नानी अमा गोरी नानी अमा गोरी नानी।
स्वास्थ्य सबुठु बड़ संपद मात्र आपण सचेतन कि? आपणक स्वास्थ्य को नहीं खास आपणक स्वास्थ्य पाई आमर विशेष कार्यक्रम प्रेस्क्रिप्शन जेउठी आपण सीधा सड़क कथा होई परिबे बछा बछा अभिज्ञ डाक्टर सह प्रति रविवार अपराह्न 3:30 रे केवल अर्गस न्यूज।
मनरे कोह ओ क्रोध काहाकू पचारिबे प्रश्न किए देव उत्तर आपणक प्रश्नर 42 मंच प्रश्नकाल सोमवार रु शुक्रवार राति 8:30।
जय जगन्नाथ।
Set of notes, but all those points have actually been covered. So I'll try and build on what Professor Karmalkar, Dr. Anand and Natasha ji talked about. I want to make three very specific points. The first one is about education and learning, and Prakash Sahuji kindly referred to a book that I have written recently about that, and which might be relevant to some of the young people in the room and some of the parents in the room. I'll also talk second about some of the issues that Dr. Anand raised, because one of the things that we should be worried about is access. And all of this wonderful education that we are talking about, is it truly reaching the very last student? After 75 years, we are still struggling to get to the very last student. So what will it take to get there? And the last thing I'll talk about is the role of technology and digital and online learning in all of this. Because I think as a country, we have no choice but to embrace it. So talking about education and learning, I think the NEP is very timely, and everything that has been referred to by Dr. Anand and Professor Karmalkar about how the NEP addresses the needs of the future, I heartily endorse. But there are two reasons why these are very important. Number one, I'll start with give you a personal example. When I was about 17, 18 years old, I did not know what I should study. I was a bit clueless. And even today, 17, 18-year-olds are confused. They don't know. In fact, they have many more options today than I had. Fortunately, I got into IIT. I studied at IIT Kanpur. For IIT Kanpur, my rank in JEE was not very high, so I had only very few options. I could study metallurgical engineering or I could study aeronautical engineering. And I knew very little about these two subjects, but I wanted to go to Kanpur because my friends were there. And at least in my time, Kanpur was very famous. It was also close to Bihar, where I am from. तो वहाँ हिंदी में बात कर सकते थे लोगों से. So when I talked to my father about what I should do, he says, I don't know anything about metallurgy or aeronautical. But he had set a goal for me. His goal was that I should get a job that would pay me 10,000 rupees a month. He was not expecting that the starting job would be 10,000 rupees a month. His counsel to me was कि बेटा कभी भी during your career 10,000 रुपए महीना कमाना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो you will not be able to live your life comfortably. So that was my goal when I went for counseling. And during the counseling, I was given this option. So I said, but I want to study aeronautical because उसमें plane वेन उड़ाने को मिलेगा. तो the professor said, हाँ, you can take aeronautical. Then I said, लेकिन उसमें नौकरी मिलेगी तो 10,000 रुपए की सैलरी मिलेगी कि नहीं? So he said कि हाँ मिल सकती है, but there are very few options for aeronautical in India. एक HAL है, you can join them. But ये metallurgy करोगे, then you will get lot more options because you can work at SAIL, you can work at TISCO, you can work at Telco. These were all companies that I knew of. I was in Jamshedpur, Tata was a big name. So I chose metallurgy and studied metallurgical engineering for 4 years. I passed out in 1986. I was telling Professor Karmalkar, he's also from IIT Madras, 3 years my senior. But I must tell you that for 37 years that I graduated, I have not done any metallurgical engineering. I spent 4 years studying metallurgy. मैंने एक कोर्स किया था उस समय, which was a new area called computer programming. In that course, I got an A. So I was very proud of myself that I got an A in computer programming. And because I had got an A in computer programming, Tata Burrows Limited actually gave me a job that paid me many more times than the 10,000 rupees that my father had set the target for. Actually got me a passport and visa to go to the United States and work. I would have been working at TCS now if I had taken that job. But the point is that for one course in 4 years, out of more than 50 courses that I would have done, I was given a job just for that one course, not for 4 years of metallurgy. This was happening 37 years ago. This is true much more today, that what you study doesn't lead you to what you do. And the bigger problem is that places like Meta, where Natasha ji works, they are creating jobs for which the course doesn't exist. You can't predict what will be the job of the future. तो अगर आप बता ही नहीं सकते कि future में क्या job होगा, तो उसके लिए पढ़ाएंगे कैसे? There is no way to teach for the future. So what do? Do you not teach? I'm coming to that. The second problem is that all of you young people who are here, you have a real bigger responsibility than I had. My responsibility was कि 10,000 रुपए की job ले आओ. Your responsibility is how will you save the planet? We will all be gone, but climate change is here to stay. And unless you all don't solve for climate change, if you don't solve for health, if you don't solve for education, Dr. Anand was saying that only 1 in 3 or less than 1 in 3 students is going to college. Unless you don't solve for that, we are finished as a planet. Now, how will you solve those problems? You will not solve those problems by studying one subject. Because one subject does not give you the solution to these problems. These problems are multidisciplinary. These problems are interdisciplinary. So by studying one discipline, you are actually disqualifying or not making yourself capable to solve the problem. To solve this problem, you have to do what Professor Karmalkar talked about. You need to understand critical thinking. asking the right questions, looking at a problem from multiple perspectives, being open to the views of other people, ये पढ़ाना होगा और ये सीखना होगा. Communication, he mentioned, these are all in the NEP. Have holistic learning, many other points that have been made about education. So the challenge now is that from studying subjects, what we have to do is help our young people develop a love for learning. From studying, you have to move to loving learning. There's our anchor, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, gave the doha from Kabir where she talked about the Dhai Akshar Prem Ke. A lot of people have given examples of the Gurukul system that we had. People have mentioned Takshila and Nalanda and Vallabhi and Vikramshila, the old universities. They all actually espoused this philosophy to inculcate in young people a love for learning. वहाँ पे ये नहीं बोलते थे कि आप आए तो मेटलर्जी पढ़ो या मेडिसिन पढ़ो या हिस्ट्री पढ़ो. In fact, there Dwarpal would do an entrance test of whoever who came from whatever class or background or economic background, and then the Dwarpal would say कि you have been admitted to the university and you could choose which acharya you went to study for. And I'm not making this up. The Chinese documents that have been written about how Takshila used to work and Nalanda used to work have documented this, that this is how education used to work. It has happened through the last few centuries that education became about getting people jobs. Now we will be forced to go back to the old way of education, because 36 years ago my education got me a job, but a very different job from what I studied. So the point is, anyway, education is not getting you the job that you are being educated in. So education should be about you being able to learn whatever you need to learn. And the last point I'll make about learning is that we all now have to learn throughout our lives. अगर हम सीखते नहीं रहेंगे, then you will just not be able to keep up with the times. In fact, all of us are sitting here. There are eminent educationists here, people from different fields. We are all learning all the time, otherwise we will not be relevant. Srimati Natasha Jog, when I met her last time, she was a TV anchor. Some of you may know that. Now she's talking about artificial intelligence and virtual reality and augmented reality, and is working from one of the most foremost technology companies in the world. She has had to learn to be able to do this. If she had not learned, she would have always been a television journalist and not been able to come to this stage. So all of us have to constantly keep learning, and therefore it's the love for learning that we have to inculcate in our children and in our young people. Without that, as a country, as a society, as a world, we are in deep trouble. I don't want to say this in a negative way, because people are doing this. Our NEP addresses this. So it's very timely, but that's the deeper reason multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity is important. That is the reason why IIT and AIIMS collaborating in Bhubaneswar is important. That is why bringing AI into medical technology, again, that Professor Karmalkar talked about, is important. Very quickly, my second point was about access. The truth is, as Dr. Anand himself gave us the statistics, we have the largest number of young people in this world. Yet, only 1 in 3, less than that, actually 30% is the GER, I think, these days. Less than 1 in 3 gets to go to college or get higher education. This is a massive problem that we should all be worried about. Unless we also think about access and how do we get more and more people to get education, we will be missing out on this dividend, this huge advantage that we have, which is that the median age is low. The median age is low, but that median age population also has to be skilled up, educated, taught how to learn, as I was talking about. So I think initiatives around making sure that education is accessible to everyone is very important. A lot of people criticize the university that I'm part of at Ashoka University, that it is very expensive. What most people don't know is that 20% of Ashoka students get a free education. Because we guarantee that if you get into Ashoka, the ability to pay will not get in the way of you getting a good education. So I think we have to somehow guarantee the education to people who are able to make it. We do it in the public sector, we do it in the government institutions, but in the private institutions where this is a big problem. And the sad part is that in our country, 70% of all education is private, which is the highest in the world. Much more than anywhere in the world. And therefore, a lot of students are shut out from accessing that system because not all private universities are able to give generous scholarships. So this is a big conundrum that we have. I don't have a solution for it, but I may have a possible answer for it, which is my third point, which is the use of technology. The fact is that without online digital learning, we will not be able to get the GER up. जो NEP का policy है of taking us to 50%, just think about it. That would mean doubling our entire education infrastructure, doubling the number of campuses, doubling the number of buildings, doubling the number of classrooms, doubling the number of professors, teachers, faculty. And the time frame that in which it needs to get done, it just will not be possible. So just as to open bank accounts, we now have a digital payment system which completely leapfrogged the need to go to a bank branch and open a bank account and so on. I think somewhere the truth is that many young people in this country for higher education are only going to be able to get their education online. There is nothing wrong at our company Harappa where we actually teach some of these online. We have found that you can actually bring elements of social learning even in the virtual environment. And even if it is not as good as physical learning, the truth is alternative kya hai? People are not even getting something which is reasonably high quality. So there's an initiative now by the Ministry of Education to build a digital university. This is a new version of IGNOU. IGNOU was trying to do that in the offline, in-person world. If you wait and watch, India's digital university will become the very largest digital university in the world very quickly. Because it will provide quality education, and it will provide quality education to everyone. And this is where the point I was making about affordability will come in, because that education will also be inexpensive and high quality at the same time. Swayam has tried to do that. Some of you have seen that even now you can even get an IIT degree online. BITS Pilani has been providing degrees online for a long time. And those online degrees are actually not that expensive, and they are very high quality. And lots of students in India are now just going to that rather than going to a brick and mortar physical campus. So online and technology and digital learning are going to play a very important role. It will bring in the element of love for learning, because now you can study what you want. You can study it whenever you want. So some of the classes that we are offering online at Ashoka, we have a 16-year-old in the class and a 72-year-old in the class. Same class with somebody who's 16 years old and in school with somebody who's 72 years old. So you can study whenever you want. You can study what you want. And you can study it in an affordable manner. And that is where some of all of this is going to come together. I think India as a country has the opportunity to innovate in education more than anywhere else in the world, because our need is much greater. West के लोग तो already median age के पार चले गए, उनका तो time khatam ho gaya, but hamare jo young people hain, they have to learn quickly and learn in this new way, and therefore a lot of education, entrepreneurship that is happening in this country will create the innovation, and I'm a firm believer in that. Again, I hope some of these ideas are helpful to some of the people in the audience, particularly the young people who have the biggest responsibility of taking these ideas forward. Again, thank you very much for inviting me here today, and I wish you the very best for the rest of this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sinha. As they say, learning is an investment that never goes wrong, only a learner for life.
जय जगन्नाथ चकाखी सबू देखुची आमे लड़ीबू साधारण ओडियांक न्यायर लड़ी किए भी आमर गुआ दिया बंधु नुहंती किए भी पार्टी रे तुंडी दे बसु किंतु आमे कहबू रोक ठोक
राज्य आमर भोट आमर सरकार आमर आम विकास भी हेबो आम कथारे चोरी चपाटी पिसीर आमे करिबू विरोध आपण करिबे निष्पत्ति महापंचायत रविवार राति 8टारे
लोक कल्याण पई गणतंत्र और सरकार माଳ माଳ योजना योजनार लाभ मिलुची तो सर्वसाधारण क्यों योजनार स्थिति कौन पास फेल एवरेज ना एक्सीलेंट आपण करिवे आकलन देखंतु लोक कल्याण रविवार राति 10:30 रे
निर्वाचन गणतंत्र आधार भोट निर्वाचन आत्मा प्रतिश्रुति भोट पाई अस्त्र प्रतिश्रुति पालटिनी तो प्रतारणा आपण करुछंती कि प्रतारणार प्रतिवाद मु आसीबी आपणक सह मिसिबी आउ जवाब मागिबी जवाब मागुछि ओडिशा शनिवार राति 9:30
आमु परता खबर रे प्रथम
We cannot miss this opportunity for one group photograph because we want to cherish the moments and memories of this day forever. So I think टिके कंजूसी करूछंती आपण माने ताली मारिबारे कार्पण्यर आवश्यकता नाही शिक्षा और ज्ञान दुईटी जाक मंच उपरे. Thank you so much gentlemen lady for this wonderful session.
Oh, that is very nice. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, sticking to time is something which is very important for August family. That indeed was a super special inaugural session that sets the tone for the success of the conclave, which is the second edition of Argus Education Next Conclave. Give us 2 minutes to set the stage and we will be ready for the next session right away.
Argus News.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. We cannot afford a break. Our esteemed guests are here for the next session. We will quickly invite them on stage. For this session, we'll be having Shri Mohit Gupta, co-founder FROB, City Book Leaders, Shri Vishwajit Nayak, co-founder and CEO of Aveti Learning, and Shri Ranjan Kumar Mahapatra, Executive Director and Head, Indian Oil Institute of Petroleum Management, who will be speaking about the national education policy and many more aspects of the education system that we are looking forward to hear from them and learn from. So may I request the dignitaries to please take their positions on stage, and I'll request Mr. Sakti Shai Mishra from Argus family to moderate this session, please. Can we invite the dignitaries and the moderator to please join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause for the panel. Yet another enlightening session is about to begin. May I request Shri Mohit Gupta, Shri Vishwajit Nayak and Shri Ranjan Kumar Mahapatra to please join us on stage.
Argus has highly modern newsrooms and studios. The team at Argus is made up of over 200 professionals comprising journalists, reporters, technicians and others. Argus provides news from every corner of Odisha and the world. It has a host of popular programs that are the choice of households across Odisha. It also goes beyond television programming by initiating several conclaves on a wide range of subjects such as education, agriculture, tourism, health, women empowerment and more. It brings together domain experts, influencers, policymakers and industry leaders to discuss and plan the future. Argus is broadcast round the clock on all leading channels. It also has a strong presence in social media and engages a large audience. In the urban 15+ age group, the potential buyers from any family are well connected to Argus. It has a cumulative reach of 14.02% and has the second highest FCT consumption among Odia news channels. And now, Argus is celebrating its 2 years of fearless journalism. Argus News. The curtain has risen. The journey.
Thank you very much for those enlightening shots that spoke about.
आमे दो साधारण जनता मौलिक समस्या को गुरुत्व
तर्क वितर्क विश्लेषण
निर्भीक सांबादिकता आम संकल्प
अर्गस न्यूज टीआरपी रो दौड़रे नुहे सत्यर संधान रे लोकों साथी रे अर्गस
हेयर फॉल फैटी लिवर डायबिटीज कैंसर परी मारात्मक रोगर प्रतिरोधक शक्ति पुणी समाधान सूत्र आम शरीर रे रही स्टेम सेल स्पेशलिस्ट डाक्टर शिवाशीष गिरी परामर्श को नहीं आमर विशेष कार्यक्रम आम शरीर आम डाक्टर
प्रति शनिवार सकाळ 8:30 एवं राति 10:30 रे
सेमाने भिड़ा भितरे मुह तैयारी करिसंती निज पई नियारा परिचय तांको प्रतिभा समाज को करे प्रभावित आमर प्रतिटी सकाळ से मानक सह जहां आपण मानकु प्रेरणा देबो
आजिर अतिथि देखंतु सोमवार रु गुरुवार सकाळ 8:30 रे
आमर प्रतिटी सकाळ आरंभ हेउ श्रीमंदिररू ओ ओडिशार कोण अनुकोणर देवालयरू ईश्वरंक दिव्य आळतीरे मंगलमय हेउ आपणंक दुनिया अर्गस न्यूज रे दिव्य आळतीर दर्शन करंतु मंगल आळती सीधा प्रसारण प्रत्येक सकाळ 5टारू 6टा
चेन्नई रे चतुर्थ थर चैंपियन लक्ष्य एक्शन रे आसीबे अमित दक्षिण भारत रे एशिया लड़ई चीन जापान और पाक को मात देवाकू रणनीति एशियन हॉकी चैंपियनशिप 2023 चेन्नई रु अर्गस लाइव देखंतु चेन्नई एक्सप्रेस 3 रु 12 अगस्त।
दिल दिया है जान भी देंगे ए वतन तेरे लिए।
स्वाधीनता दिवस में अर्गस न्यूज रो स्वतंत्र उपस्थापना नक्सल को छाती ऊपर
बर्तमान आम कोरापुट खालपदर गाँ जो रही खालपदर गाँ से गाँव में पहुंचीछु।
सरकारी पक्का घर कार भी रेजिस्ट्रेशन है नहीं कि सेटा नाही आका
ते लोक हरण होचोंती एते खराब रास्ता रे जाउचोंती एम्बुलेंस तो आसु नाही दीदी
गता पैसा
हां
6 मास होलनी सर
मैं पाइनो
नहीं
बाकी पाउथुलो
हां आक तो खाइतली बरका 6 मास होलबे खाइले
स्कूल की 2006 मसिया रे तयारी देखो तो स्कूल घर भीतर चित्र
कोरापुट निर्वाचन मंडली अंतर्गत खालपदर गाँव एथर जनअडिट अगस्ट 13 रविवार संध्या 7:30 रे।
Success of Education Next Conclave Season 1 now brings Education Next Season 2 this August. A conclave towards progressive generation. Education Next Season 2. A step towards the future. Coming soon. Only on Argus News.
ओएसएससी प्रश्नपत्र लीक घटना रे गिरफ संख्या 25 छुई किंगपिन किए ताकू नहीं लगी रही सस्पेंस आशायी अभियोग ओएसएससी ऑफिस रे ही लुचि रही किंगपिन
एटिरे ओएससीसी चेयरमैन पार्टी खोलु नांती जो ओएससीसी चेयरमैन सेंटर सेंटर बुली की आम सहित फोटो उठाउतिले
सेहिति पई सीबीआई तदंत दाबी करुछंती सबु आशायी नियुक्ति एठी नीलाम हेउछि मेधार मूल्य नाही
एतकी टंका दियो चाकरी ने लोक चाकरी करी कहउछन आमे चाकरी पैसा दी चाकरी करछि हमु के बार करियो ओडिसा रे गोटे स्थिति तयारी हेछि जे सरकारी चाकरी बिक्री होछि।
देखंतु महापंचायत चाकरी परीक्षा भविष्यत सह खेल रविवार राति 8टारे।
छोट परतारे तांको बहुत भल पाइबा मिलिछि खाली सेतिक नहे बड़ परतारे भी तांकर पेस आम सब संतर प्रिय अभिनेत्री उपासना
पानी रे बुड़ी बनाही की
आपण जे कहले आपण सीरियल रे बहुत भल पाइबा मिलिछि किंतु फिल्म रे सेति की भल पाइबा मिलिलानी दर्शक देलेनी ना संध्या 7 हला माने टीवी ऑन कला माने मानिनी आपण को फ्रंट रे बसला आपण आगे कांदिला हसिला जेतो आपण घर बाहर को बाहरुचंती कोन एमिति गोटे जिंस अछि जा को आपण केबे घर छाडी के आसंते
देखंतु एथर स्टार्टअप शनिवार राति 8टारे।
चगली 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 झिया सेता भारी अभिमानी टिके में गिल्ली नानी
स्वास्थ्य सबुठु बड़ संपद मात्र आपण सचेतन आपणक स्वास्थ्य को नहीं खास आपणक स्वास्थ्य पाई आमर विशेष कार्यक्रम प्रेस्क्रिप्शन जोठी आपण सीधा सड़क कथा होई परिबे बछा बछा अभिज्ञ डाक्टर सह प्रति रविवार अपराह्न 3:30 रे केवल अर्गस न्यूज।
मनरे कोह ओ क्रोध काहाकू पचारिबे प्रश्न किए देब उत्तर आपणक प्रश्नर 42 मंच प्रश्नकाल सोमवार रु शुक्रवार राति 8:30।
जय जगन्नाथ चकाखी सबू देखुची आमे लड़ीबू साधारण ओडियांक न्यायर लड़ी किए भी आमर गुआ दिया बंधु नुहंती किए भी पार्टी रे तुंडी दे बसु किंतु आमे कहबू रोक ठोक
राज्य आमर भोट आमर सरकार आमर आम विकास भी हेबो आम कथारे चोरी चपाटी पिसीर आमे करिबू विरोध आपण करिबे निष्पत्ति महापंचायत रविवार राति 8टारे।
लोक कल्याण पई गणतंत्र ओ सरकार माଳ माଳ योजना योजनार लाभ मिलुची तो सर्वसाधारण को केउ योजनार स्थिति कौन पास फेल एवरेज ना एक्सीलेंट आपण करिवे आकलन देखंतु लोकपाल रविवार राति 10:30 रे।
निर्वाचन गणतंत्र आधार भोट निर्वाचन आत्मा प्रतिश्रुति भोट पाई अस्त्र प्रतिश्रुति पालटनी तो प्रतारणा आपण करुछंती कि प्रतारणार प्रतिवाद मु आसीबी आपणक सह मिसिबी आउ जवाब मागिबी जवाब मागुछि ओडिशा शनिवार राति 9:30।
आमो परता खबर रे प्रथम आमे दो साधारण जनता मौलिक समस्या को गुरुत्व
तर्क वितर्क विश्लेषण
निर्भीक सांबादिकता आम संकल्प
अर्गस न्यूज टीआरपी रो दौड़े नुह सत्यर संधान रे लोकों साथी रे अर्गस।
हेयर फॉल फैटी लिवर डायबिटीज कैंसर परी मारात्मक रोगर प्रतिरोधक शक्ति पुणी समाधान सूत्र आम शरीर रे रही स्टेम सेल स्पेशलिस्ट डाक्टर शिवाशीष गिरी परामर्श को नहीं आमर विशेष कार्यक्रम आम शरीर आम डाक्टर प्रति शनिवार सकाळ 8:30 एवं राति 10:30 रे।